Hi everyone, welcome to the second day of Film Club Live in 2013. I'm George, a reporter from Film Club, and right up till Friday we'll be celebrating National Storytelling Week with you all.
That's right, George, and hello everyone, I'm Joe from the team here at Film Club. We're really excited about bringing you some pretty special guests this week, but that's not forgetting all of you viewers out there that are already tuning in. We've got a special mention for 4 schools today, so that's a warm welcome to Islington Arts Centre, Ballacameen and St Ninian's High Schools in the Isle of Man, so welcome to you, and also Whitstone School. As usual, all of you can get involved, so if you've got any questions for us here in the studio, all the contact details will be scrolling along the bottom of the screen as usual. So what have we got coming up, George?
We're really lucky today to have Tamzin Rafn in the studio. Tamzin is the screenwriting genius behind the popular film club title Albatross, which has been enjoyed by many clubs.
OK, but don't forget, also stay tuned to hear how you can win some fantastic prizes. We've got a good deal of incredible gifts to give away. That's some books that have been made into films. We've got a lot of cinema tickets and also a chance for you to win your very own popcorn maker.
So let's get started and welcome Tamzin to the studio.
Hello.
Hello, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tamzin, we wanted to find out how you started as a writer. And could you give helpful tips to a young person such as myself and others how we could get involved?
I worked in film development for many years, for about 15 years, developing other people's scripts, and that sort of got me into what it felt like to read the format, and I was also very interested in watching films and reading around the subject and reading those sort of books, screenwriting books, things like William Goldman's Adventures in the Screen Shade. And I thought one day I'd have a go so that when I gave script notes to somebody, I knew what it felt like to sort of have been through the process, and I just got bitten then by the bug, and just once I'd started. And in fact, I got an agent from the very first script I wrote, so that was quite cheering, and I thought, I might be all right at this, I'm going to continue. And then Albatross was the second thing I'd written, and that got made. So then, of course, I was like, this is easy. Of course, it's not. And with tips, and it's a very obvious thing to say, but the best way to be a writer is to write. And it's something you can do just at home on your own with a pen and paper. You don't need to spend a fortune on screenwriting software at first. You can just have a go.
I read that you destroyed your first script before you got success with Albatross. How hard was it to continue writing after that?
Well, actually my husband destroyed it. It's good to do something that's rubbish as well, because you learn actually sometimes more from doing the bad things, and then you can see your mistakes. So he was the only person that ever read it, and he was absolutely right. I couldn't write humans, and it was about humans. So I think it's really good to fail and to pick yourself up and have another go and try and correct what you did wrong the first time.
I mean, actually, from the moment that Albatross got picked up and optioned and actually made, it was a very short space of time, which is unprecedented for a film.
Yes.
Isn't that right? Can you tell us about that process? How did that actually come about?
Well, I had an agent from the very first thing I'd written, and I sent it to her, and I think I sent it in July, late July, and by October it had been picked up, and by the following October it was filming. That never happens, I don't think, but I think, I don't know if they're still in existence, but the Isle of Man Film Commission, Cinema NX, had the facility to make the film that quickly because they make a lot of movies over there, and so I just had this very, very smooth and ridiculously lucky journey to the film being made. I can't ever see that happen again, and it's been 4 years, and currently I'm just writing and writing and writing.
Was it just like all your birthdays had come at once?
It was like all my birthdays and all my Christmases.
Thank you.
Bradley Wiggins, or Sir Wiggo, hello if you're watching, he's one of my heroes. I read that you were inspired by Diablo Cody, who wrote a big film club hit, Juno. Who has inspired you in your career so far?
I'm really inspired by Nora Ephron, who wrote When Harry Met Sally, which is something I think is brilliant. She died last year, and although that's very sad, I feel like she's left a little space for me now. But I like a lot of like comedy writers like Tina Fey, and I love Mean Girls, which she wrote, and I'd also like to write something like that. And I don't consciously think that I try to emulate just female writers, but it does seem like I look at them and want to snatch their careers. Or share with them. Share their careers. So why do I have to be greedy? Share.
Well, they're good recommendations as well, and I would suggest that you'll check them out on our site too. So we're now going to watch the first clip from Albatross. This is the scene where Amelia and Beth first meet.
I'm late, aren't I?
You've missed breakfast, I'm afraid. Which room are you in?
All of them, unfortunately. And the new cleaner?
Why, yeah. I'm Beth Fisher.
Oh, charmed. Serena.
Nice to meet you, Serena. Can I just take your surname for the key log?
Yeah, it's spelt Molina.
Great, so you know you don't need to do the attic room on the top floor, just the guest rooms. This is Edna, our other cleaner. She'll show you around. How do you say your surname, just so I don't get it wrong?
Melina.
Melina.
Yeah. Serena, Melina, the cleaner. Meant to be.
I thought that was really funny when Amelia gave the fake name. I didn't realise her and Beth would end up becoming such friends. You have to watch the film at home to find out what happens next. Now we've actually got a caller on the line with a question about Amelia.
Hi, I'm Chris, I'm 15 and I'm from St Paul's. Amelia is a wild child. Did you write this about your own experiences, or where do you get your ideas from?
Hi, Chris. It's not literally my experiences because otherwise I'd have some explaining to do to my parents and my friends' parents. But I was quite naughty, and when my mum came up to Edinburgh where the film premiered and saw the film, she turned to all of my friends who'd also come and said she was much worse. And I thought I'd put all of the bad stuff I could possibly do into the movie, but according to my parents, I was quite wild, and that was quite tempered down in comparison.
So maybe your mum could give us some ideas for the sequel?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I've also made a list actually of everything you've loved from other movies. That includes Naughty Girls, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Seaside Towns.
Yes.
Writers and Scandalous Behaviour.
Yes.
It's obviously an advantage to write about things that you enjoy, but how would you recommend that other people tackle subjects that they don't know anything about?
Well, I sort of thematically, I like the idea of getting out of a place, and it seems like a lot of things that I've subsequently written and been paid and commissioned to write have been about somebody that feels very trapped by not just their location but their situation. So I think that's something that's dear to me for some reason, and that just to release that in any context helps. But I would certainly say for your first few things, just try and write close to home so that you're not bogged down with research, because that can slow you down quite a lot, and it's frustrating, and you can give up if you feel like you're frustrated. It's easy to give up. If you're having a nice time doing it, it's much better to just continue.
Thank you.
You did a lot of research for the film, including watching Wonder Boys, The Squid and the Whale, Wish You Were Here, The Door in the Floor and 13. Why were these titles important to you when writing? And did you also have to read more?
Those sort of films had all been great successes in my eyes, and they were the kind of things I wanted to emulate. And I wanted people to watch anything that I was going to write and feel as sort of emotional about it, and also passionate about how much they liked it. And so I think in some places there's sort of homages to some of those films, but particularly things like, for example, in The Door in the Floor, I spoke to Neil McCormick, the director, and he used the photographs that go up the wall was something that they had in that movie. So even visually, I liked how some of them looked as well, which was nothing to do with me when you're actually filming it, but it was nice that he took on board those things that I nodded towards.
Ballakirmeen High School, who enjoyed the film very much, contacted us to ask you. We're assuming that you didn't write your screenplay for Albatross with the intention of it being filmed in the Isle of Man. So did you have to change your screenplay at all to accommodate filming here, and what did you change?
Hello. One of the things was that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle had lived in Sussex for a long time and not the Isle of Man. So in fact we've kept the names from Sussex, and it just looks different. But actually, as long as it has that sort of nice romantic feel, and the fact that I like the sea as a character, where you feel like you can look out and there's endless possibility, and it doesn't really matter that it's the Isle of Man or Worthing in that context. But there were other things that had to be changed. Like I obviously wrote it as an English writer that had written The Cliff House, and then Sebastian Koch was cast, and he became a German writer. So things like that happen because of production, and actually you're so lucky for it to be made that honestly you changed Amelia into a dog just to get it made.
We're now going to watch the second clip from the film. This is where Amelia and Beth come across a shipwreck and very early into their friendship, so take a look at this.
I'm done with my answers. Are you?
No. Stop cheating.
How can you write like that?
Well, I found these miraculous claw-like appendages at the end of my arms, and they were ideal for clutching blunt instruments such as this, a pencil.
I meant, wouldn't it just be easier to use your laptop? I'd be lost without mine.
I don't have a laptop. I come from a no-parent family. We spend most of our money on gravestones.
Oh. I'm sorry. Maybe you could use Posey's computer.
Maybe I could. I forgive you.
Your shoes are massive.
Okay, so it's a very British film. It's got a very British flavour. Have you ever thought about writing specifically for an American audience, and how do you think you'd approach it differently?
I've written several American things, and you don't really, a lot of the stuff I write as teenagers, and you don't really approach it differently, but you do have to be very mindful of the fact that you have to look up loads of things like, obviously the obvious ones like elevator instead of lift, or apartment instead of flat, but there's even little things like what they say for PE or their way they sort of raise at the end of their sentences. I have quite a British sense of humour, and you have to think about how you're going to. Sarcasm isn't as great over there as it is in my house.
When you're going over the character's dialogue, do you put on a fake American accent?
Yeah, I do. But don't come round whilst I'm doing it.
When I started to watch it, I thought it would be more of a girls' film, but I actually really enjoyed it. What was your initial target audience?
Me. Really, I didn't think. Because I never write imagining it's going to be made, because I find that I don't write for myself, then I'm trying to think of pleasing people, and it's best to please yourself, really. I'm really glad that you liked it, though, and I've had quite a few boys have come up, and most of them are because they fancy the girls, but it's nice that you like the story too.
Could you tell us a little bit about the process involved in writing for screen? What are the hours like? Do you drink loads of coffee, get really grumpy, and do you end up talking to your cats?
Yes. How did you know I have cats? I talk to everything. I talk to the fridge. I talk to the milk. It's quite lonely, but actually I say that it's not really that lonely, because I plan something every day that I'll go out and do that's not sitting at home, and it's on that walk that I usually have the best ideas about how to solve whatever problem is going on in the script at home. But I'm very keen on the fact that if you're having a bad day and it's not working, that you just don't do it. Watch a movie, because then it's quite inspiring. Or I go to the cinema in the day when it's empty and it's lovely. It's like having a private screening, because whilst I'm there, I go, they've put him in an isolated situation, and you just get inspired by things. But yes, lots of coffee, lots of gibberish to cats.
So where do you write down those ideas that come to you in a flash?
I'm very old-fashioned. I have a fountain pen and an old Filofax, whereas, my husband, for example, everything's on a little bit of technology, but I'm very pen and paper, and I've got notebooks everywhere that I've only got the first page used.
So it's another similarity with Amelia.
Oh, yeah.
We've got another caller on the line with a question about process.
Hi, my name's Jack and I'm from St Ninians. I interviewed Jeremy Brock, who's another screenwriter, yesterday, and he told me that it was easier to create a story from one character's point of view, but it was better to create it from more than one character's point of view. Would you agree with this?
Oh, so that was a question from Jack. He was just saying that he actually interviewed another screenwriter yesterday, Jeremy Brock.
Brilliant screenwriter.
And his advice was to write from several different people's perspective rather than just the one. What's your take on that?
Well, this was, Jack, this was from more than one, just because it was only the second thing I'd written, or third, if you count the burnt script. The first two were from one character's perspective, and so this was just an experiment to see what it was like. And most of the things I do are from a single character's perspective, it's a bit harder because you can't, and you have to have people listening at doors if you don't want them in the scene and you want something being said. You know, you have to make sure once you've set that as your precedent, and that's what the film's going to be, it's a POV film, like point of view film, you can't break it. And actually that can be tricky sometimes if you do want to show two people talking about her, or... But you know, I think both have their merits and both have their negatives, obviously, as well.
I guess an ensemble piece is, you know, when there's more than one protagonist, like, it's quite that much harder to write.
I quite enjoyed the liberty, though, of saying, I'm really stuck with Amelia. Oh, it's okay, I'll go to Jonathan. You know, like, of just going there. And by the time you get back to Amelia, you think, oh, probably 3 days have passed. I mean, 3 days in film time of what's going on within the boundaries of the film, and therefore you can say, well, she's not thinking about that anymore, she will have moved on. Yeah. So in those terms, I think it can be quite liberating.
Yeah.
Kyle from St Ninian's High School asks, what is the hardest and easiest part of making a film?
The hardest part is when other people come on, actually, because although they're all doing it for the greater good of getting the film made, it's very hard that they change things and they don't want to, you know, some of the parts don't look like you think that they would have looked in your head, or when the edit was done, they lost 20 pages of script, which had to be done to make it fit in. It ended up being very long, but, you know, that's heartbreaking. So where's that storyline gone? That's quite hard. And the best bit is just, I mean, I absolutely love just writing in of itself. It's very nice when it's shown and people like it. It's nice, and very horrible when people write mean things on the internet about you.
Oh, well, let's take one more look at the film. This is the last clip here in which Amelia gets her first writing lesson from her best friend's dad.
Oh, look at that. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I wish I had a camera. Take a picture on your phone. I wish I had a phone. Anyway, we should grab what we can until we realise it's wrecked here. Huge men's t-shirt.
Not as good as these women's shoes.
Revolting.
Look at the size of them.
Why is everything so massive? You should have this.
I can't actually take them. They might belong to someone.
No, you can claim it, provided notice is given so the rightful owner has the chance to come forward. We are taking all your stuff, okay?
Honey, the big t-shirt and the shoes, all right?
Is that what you do?
Okay, so just while the clip was playing, we had a quick message just to prove we were live. A hello to St John's Film Club in Camborne. Thank you for watching.
Amelia can be really flirty in the film. What did your mum make of this character?
Well, she obviously grew up with me as her daughter. She liked it. I mean, in the end, she liked it. But I was a bit worried because I was thinking, when I was writing it, I wasn't imagining my parents sitting there watching, you know, scenes like this one, or, you know, and then when your parents are sat there, you're just thinking the whole way through, what are they going to say? In the end, they're just kind of proud that, you know, that it got made, but you do have to be sort of, you know, keep it in the back of your mind when you're writing things that people potentially could see it.
I'm just going to expand on something as well. There's the link to writing, and Amelia thinks that she's actually a descendant of Arthur Conan Doyle, which is a great author in his own right and obviously famous for the Sherlock Holmes series. What made you come up with this as an element in the story? I mean, were you a fan of those books?
Well, I actually was more a fan of the films, but not the Guy Ritchie, well, and the Guy Ritchie ones, but, you know, from old, with the old Basil Rathbone ones. But it was more because I wanted to set it in Sussex, and I'd come up with H.G. Wells and Arthur Conan Doyle, who both lived there, and I thought Wells was a bit, you know, could be, you know, your surname could be Wells, whereas if your surname was Conan Doyle, you'd very definitely say that. It was purely location rather than design. I mean, she could have been, you know, pretended to have been related to anybody, really.
And you're not descendant from any famous
Absolutely
writers,
not.
No.
My dad, the accountant.
Liam and Daniel from St Ninian School ask specifically, what gave you inspiration for the film?
Going down to the sea, actually, being near the sea, I really enjoy. I think anyone that gets the sort of pleasure of seeing that outside the window, loads of things, kind of fresh air and I think, you know, that kind of thing, plus, you know, watching other people's movies that were kind of small and weren't those big blockbusters with loads of effects and things like that. Just watching other movies and thinking that's what I would like to be a part of.
Yeah, it's a good old story.
Good old story triumphing.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you
Sadly,
for
we've run
having
out of time today, so thank you for answering all of our questions. So right back to you guys, the viewers, it's now competition time. So don't forget that this month we're giving away some fantastic storytelling resources. We've got a guide to some of the best film adaptations of children's books, a special book offer with Scholastic book clubs, and a competition to review your favourite film adaptation of a book. There's also more information about a new DVD release. We're giving away a package with the DVD and the book for new feature Now Is Good, starring Jeremy Irvine and Dakota Fanning. That sounds like an amazing competition, Joe. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Tamzin. Please do join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. when we will be interviewing screenplay writer Simon Reed and actor George Mackey from the film adaptation of Michael Morpurgo's novel Private Peaceful. Cool, thanks for joining us. Bye. See you later, bye.